Branson built Virgin through parties and bold stunts. Kim Kardashian turned social access into a billion-dollar brand machine. And Martha Stewart? She made Instagram feel like home. From networking rooms to hashtag strategy, from seasonal sales to global branding, business success comes down to one thing: connection. But what if you don't have a press team, a stylist, or a billion-dollar ad budget? What if you're just a founder with big goals, a small team, and 14 hours in the day? In this series, 15 real entrepreneurs share the strategies that actually worked for them, on the ground, in the market, with receipts.
Networking is key in business. Finding referrals and gaining insights to outshine the competition. But how do we meet new people and build mutually beneficial relationships? We ask the experts.
1.
I think networking is very, very different depending on whether you're running a business on a local scale or on a national scale. I run my business on a national scale, and so networking is, in today's society, pretty much going to be online anyway. I generally try to attend some type of online conference once a quarter, and then that way I'm meeting new people. I am very much an introvert, so any kind of networking, I have to step outside of my own personal comfort zone to do. So once a quarter is plenty for me. I generally find that as I'm getting referrals, I'm not needing to do a whole lot of networking. But I also work in my local area. And so what I do to network locally is I'm connected with our local Chamber of Commerce, and I pay attention to the events that they're having. I attend luncheons on occasion, and I attend other events that the Chamber has. And that's a really, really great resource for people that are local. And then if you have a chamber in your area, I highly recommend that you get connected with them, because they have a wealth of resources that can help you with networking and growing your business and connecting to people in that community.
2.
So when it comes to kind of network marketing and leveraging a community to build your business, I do think it is one of the most powerful ways to get acceleration in your business. The one thing I will say as a tip is make sure you treat the relationships with the people who are putting you in front of their communities with love, compassion, and respect. There has become this kind of new trend where people want to build joint venture partnerships and they want to cross-promote and things like that, and it's become very transactional. And it just doesn't feel great. It's like, great, I'm another number on your list who's sharing your stuff with my community, but like, why would I now choose to work with you if you're just seeing me as a number or a check mark on your list versus someone that actually knows, loves, and trusts me and is going to go to bat for me in rooms that I'm not in. So I have chosen to find smaller, more intimate groups of individuals to be my network and to be the ones that become my ride or dies, and same for them. I've become their ride or dies. I think it's that kind of relationship is so much more powerful when someone is speaking about you and leveraging you in front of their network than someone who's just in it for the clicks and the conversions and the affiliate payout.
3.
So networking for me has been huge from the very, very beginning of my business. My very first client came from network marketing. I gave a talk to a group of women entrepreneurs and women business owners and about marketing tips for small business. And someone came up to me after the talk and said, "Oh my God, everything you talked about, I want help on. I'm not good at it. Can you help me? I have a friend that just started a business. He needs your help too. Can you give me a business card and I'll send him your info?" I think networking is so important because, there's a saying that your network is your net worth. And for me, I think that's been absolutely true. So many of my clients come from relationships and word of mouth. If you're not naturally a good networker, I think there are things you can do to be better at it. A lot of events, because you register online, you can look and see who else is coming, and you can do research before you go to the in-person event and look the people up online, check them out on LinkedIn, figure out who you want to meet and what it is you want to learn about them. And if you're nervous to do it by yourself, you can find other people like a networking buddy to go with you to the event. And, sometimes it's just easier when you're with somebody you're comfortable with to approach somebody and say to them, it's so great to meet you. I want to introduce you to my friend. And so it's more of a conversation versus feeling like you're doing something more robotic, that it just feels fake. I think when networking works, it's a natural conversation. You're not pulling out your resume or pulling out your brochure and shoving it into their face. You're asking thoughtful questions and you're having a very normal conversation. And then you can ask them for a card and follow up after and say, it was great meeting you. If you and I met at a networking event, we had a brief conversation. I'd love to follow up the next day. You send an email and say, it was so nice meeting you. Meet for a cup of coffee. I'd love to keep discussing XYZ. And then you send them something, maybe an article that discusses something you were talking about. Maybe you invite them to an event that you thought they might enjoy based on something you heard them say. I think it should be very natural, not forced. I think where it gets uncomfortable is they feel like they have to be on a script or they feel like they're pushing. Networking is not about pushing, it's a give and take.
I've had some of my best connections and biggest leaps from being in-person mastermind events. And it's always kind of daunting investing that amount of money up front. But then when you really dive in and you're proactive at meeting people, you can make incredible friends and incredible networks. And then you can refer someone to somebody else. They refer someone to you. It's a fantastic way of doing business.
5.
At TBD Coffee Co., we sell mostly online. Our website is our main source of revenue, but we actually get a lot of those clients through networking and through what we call corkboarding. We certainly run ads. We do the whole, digital shebang, but that is harder to get a new customer and harder to retain a lifetime loyal customer than it is to go out in person to a local community event and chat with somebody, give them a sample of our coffee and say, here, try this. If you like it, check us out on our website and you can buy some there. That personal connection it's just so much more valuable. I mean, we have no fear about the actual product. We know that once people try our coffee, they're going to love it. So for us, it's just getting that coffee in somebody's coffee maker, right? So for us, it's going out and it's like looking at a corkboard at a local coffee shop and saying, these community events are happening. How do we join all of these? Let's stick our card up here on this corkboard in, sort of metaphorical terms, because those don't quite exist as much anymore, but we do try to just get out there, whether it's like a brewery down the street that's having an art night. Maybe we go and showcase that Zach, my partner, does all the art on the bag. And then we're giving out samples and we're making sales online later, but that's where we're really doing our in-person network. And that is where we're getting those lifetime customers and the people that get to know us and get to know why running this business is so important to us and get to know that we are very much proponents of like sustainable farming, and we make these really important connections with farmers and things that matter to people that are similar minded to us. Those are the people that we're meeting in person that are going to come to our website, purchase and keep purchasing, sign up for a subscription and be our lifetime customers.
6.
I am a work in progress at this. So I want to say, look, I'm learning as I see people who do it and do it seamlessly and effectively. Ask them, tell me how. So the thing I think is a definite do is to make sure that your network knows not just who you are, but what you do, that they can re-articulate it. And so that can be done in a few different ways. You and all of your social channels or your website or your whatever, if you've got a tagline or your elevator pitch or your brand statement that you have, make sure that it is easy to read, easy to understand, easy to find. Make sure when you speak to them, it's there. If you're somebody who has a business card, be it tangible or virtual, make make sure it's there. But the important thing about the network is, of course, 50% of it is, hi, I'm here. This is what I do. I'd like opportunities. But the other 50% is frankly them being able to share that information with somebody when you're not there. So when we make it hard for people because, oh, it's inarticulate, we're saying a lot, we're trying to boil the ocean, and it's hard for people to say, well, this is what they do, I think, we make it hard sometimes when we don't keep it very simple and headline for people. That could even be having a one sheet, a summary, that you can forward to somebody and give them permission to forward it on. I think that's a do. Let's make sure that we make it easy for folks to be able to say what we do, because your network can be very helpful to you. I think a big don't is actually not telling people that you're out here and looking for collaborative opportunities. Sometimes, and maybe, I don't know what this is, we don't ask for help. We don't tell people, like, we're open for it. I think it was super helpful during the pandemic that I see it still lasts on LinkedIn when they created the green frame, open to work. Like, all too often people are afraid to say the words, but hi, this is what we're trying to do here. So that's a big don't, not letting everybody know what you're looking for, and that you're there. So I think use every opportunity. If you're attending a conference, if you're sitting at a brunch, if you're at a chamber of commerce, if you're talking to other peers and colleagues in the business, you've got to say the words. People can't guess and people won't assume. In fact, when you don't say it, they might assume your slate is full and that you can't take on anything new. So I think it's a big don't is sort of portraying that it's all together or that you don't have any more capacity, especially if that's not the case.
Building a brand is tricky enough with plenty of resources, but budget, knowledge, and time constraints make it even harder for small businesses. Yet, a well-built brand can be a game changer, boosting a small company's long-term success and ability to survive. So, how can you build a successful brand? We ask the experts.
1. I think the fastest way to grow is to build a product that somebody needs and do it in a way that is indefensible. And by that, I mean it doesn't break. You're going to go through testing periods, and that's part of the, I call it failure to get to success. But when you really go to market, and by going to market, you're building a brand, you want that brand to have the best possible reputation. So building something that's durable, building something that is needed, those are key attributes for building a brand fast. We actually just brought Pro Valet to market on March 1st, and we're growing very quickly, which is great because we've actually adhered to that advice, which is build something that's durable and is needed. And we're using social media. I mean, it's astounding to me that you can do this, but most people are cruising through, Facebook or even LinkedIn or Instagram, and they something that resonates with them. It makes it easy. Just click on it and associate yourself with it in one way or another. 2.
The beautiful thing about where we are, I actually think there's a lot of free information out there for small business owners. If you cannot hire a professional like yourself or myself, I think that there's a lot of great things on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and you could building a personal brand, starting what's my brand, creating a brand Bible. You can Google sort of branding or personal branding and those things, and you could actually come up with videos and or guides and or toolkits that might help you fill in the blanks even. There are even toolkits that you can do it sort of Mad Lib style to get yourself started. And really at that point, that's the hardest thing, getting yourself started. I think there are also some really good books out there if you have the investment of a book. And some people might not, but if you can even get a couple of good books, I think there are some wonderful ones written by the experts, by people who do work with the Apples of the world, who can help guide that process. So I think that the thing is to just get started. The other thing about a brand, there's Nike Just Do It, right? It stands for everything, but it can be an iterative process. Starting to sort of get down whatever your brand statement, your mission, your vision, your purpose, your tagline, getting those things down is sort of the first step. They may be tweaked, they may ebb and flow over time. So don't feel that it has to be perfect right away, but get it down. And I would suggest really consulting some of the tools that are readily available online to maybe get started. The other thing I would do, if there are companies that you admire, I would take a look at their mission statements on their websites or their taglines. Usually the website is a great place for that. Their annual report sometimes is a great place for that. And you can see how they structured it, and it might help you articulate, this is why this brand speaks to me. How can I maybe replicate that from the way they do storytelling in my own life? It doesn't have to be as elaborate as what Apple does, but you will see some of those tenets of who you are, what makes you tick, what do you offer that no one else does? And it doesn't mean it's proprietary. It means what's your unique approach to it. And what do you want people to do? What's that call to action? Even starting with a simple answering those questions might help get you there.
3.
Is speed to market the key to success, or is having the product that can actually be survive for more than 5 to 10 years? I think both of those are questions you could ask. I think in our case, we look at it as we have to build a product that will evolve to meet the challenges our customers are going to be facing down the road, and to do so cost effectively. I find that oftentimes what happens is products are leapfrogged because maybe they're focused on a specific vertical or a specific problem, and those more generalized solutions are able to sort of replace them by having a larger reach and more capability. And that's really what we saw early on before we started was we need something that is going to do, eventually do everything that our customers need across all these different verticals and do it really, really well and do it cost effectively. So I would say that's part of it, is kind of looking at where is the market going to be in 10 years and designing your product for that market. Don't be myopic and look at the current competitive landscape and the current needs and saying, we're designing for this, because then 10 years from now, you will be obsolete. But then obviously separate from that, being able to get out that brand awareness early, being able to hit it with SEO, paid search, whatever you need to do to get customers on your platform, and then making sure those customers really, really have a great experience so they can be advocates for you in the market to expand your reach as you grow.
4.
Yeah, there's really 2 different directions to go with branding, and branding is so much fun. I love helping people come up with their brand and how they're going to do things. But there's really 2 ways to go. The way that I went was the writing detective. My business has a name, thinking of like Amazon, Best Buy, like a company that has a name, right? And then that name encompasses the services that you do and the talent that you retain. The other way to go about branding, which is becoming increasingly more popular, is to brand your company as yourself. So if the services that you are selling, the information that you're selling is really based on who you are as a person, then branding as yourself would be great. I mean, we don't need to know Beyonce's last name to know who Beyonce is, right? She has a brand entirely in and of herself. And you find increasingly that people are branding for themselves in this influencer marketplace. So I think the very first thing to do when you sit down to brand is to ask yourself 2 questions. Where does the expertise lie? Is it because I am who I am, or is it because of skills that I have? And then that will help you determine which path to go. And then the second question is, do I plan to stay as more of an individual person, continuing to offer my self as the product, or do I plan on growing an agency? And then that will also help determine which direction of branding that you should go.
5.
I would say being consistent with your initial message. So not deviating from what you've originally set out and said. So for example, in my VSL, it is what it is. I think that if we then branched out from there and started talking about different things, people might go, hold up. And that doesn't associate you very well with the original brand that they might have seen. So I think that sticking in the same lane that you originally go after in that sense is important. From a digital PR perspective, obviously being featured in the biggest publications that you can be especially ones that are in your industry, is incredibly important for building your brand. You know, that association with that other company, you can then use that logo on your website. So then when your customers land on your site, they're then associating you with that other bigger brand, which helps build your brand. That's definitely a key area to focus on.
6.
Thankfully to my branding experience and me being in the corporate of branding, for example, brands like Nestle, McCormick Spices, and I understand that things as small as the font makes a difference. So when we reach out to customer in terms of our emailing or like our social media, the way the wordings, the tone of voice, the kind of picture we show, the kind of vibes we give out, they are all synchronizing with our core value. And once that is in the strong foundations of our communications, the brand is built up. And no matter where the customers see us, whether it at the marketplace, for example, they are shopping on Walmart, we are currently also in Walmart marketplace, or they come across us in YouTube or in our website or in Google search. It's a uniform communication style, and it helps them for us to be in the top of the mind memory, so that when they choose the product next time, the first thing that comes to mind, Ashbury Cocoa. Ashbury Cocoa is the one that I have to go to. So that is how branding helps in fashion. When I was back in my hometown Singapore, I visited my husband in San Francisco. He works for a animation company, and when I visit him, he brought me to a place, Ashbury Heights, and it was at Ashbury Heights I saw the diverse culture, design, and the clash of colors and the clash of ideas that impacted me a lot to come up with a company of my own, to finally get out of corporate, to have my own business, my own product. So I used the first name of that area, Ashbury, and Coco is because I really like Coco Chanel. So she is someone who I look up to in terms of inspiration. And whenever I feel down, I thought about her and how she struggled as a woman who come up with the little black dress and stunned everyone in the fashion industry. So whenever I feel down as a minority woman in US, all alone without resources, I think about my idol, and I get a lot of strength by thinking about her. So by using the place that inspired me, Ashbury Heights, and the idol who inspired me and keep me going.
But no matter your industry, navigating social media marketing can be tricky with all the changing trends and updates. So, how do you successfully market your business on social media? We ask the experts.
1.
Definitely. I mean, for Cognito Forums, especially since we are helping people build solutions to meet the needs of their businesses, we've learned on social media that while like I'm an engineer, I obviously want to talk about all the cool tech in our product and all the features and how those features work. Our customers on social media are interested in solutions to their problems. So that's what we need to talk about on social media, is how different types of customers' problems can be solved with our platform, so that we're reaching them with the solutions they're looking for, not the technology that we're providing them. As an example for that, we're in the process now of releasing our workflow tasks feature, which is going to empower people to do, task management within their organizations. So we'll focus on different types of problems that an organization may have that they want to address with it, whether that be dealing with HR issues with, timesheets or time off requests or 360 reviews, or maybe the needs of a real estate company and being able to manage the closing process with their customer base. How our task management feature will actually empower them to engage people to do the right work at the right time. That's what we'll talk about on social media. We won't geek out about how our great technology is going to be amazing for everybody in the world. We're going to be very specific about the individual needs of our different types of customers that we have.
From a social media side of things, it's really not something we focus on massively. When we do, it's kind of me making organic videos in front of the camera, trying to be as consistent as possible, and then putting spend behind them. We do have a small team that runs our paid ads for our various brands that we own, but in comparison to SEO, we've done it for 18 years. I'm going to stick in my lane.
So when it comes to social media, you have to understand that it is always changing. A trending music or content will not last more than 2 months. And when that trend changes, you have to be very fast to catch what is the next wave, what is the best song, best music to go along with my videos. How do I post at what time? What is the length of the video? Who should I target? All these should be very fast and also very efficient. So we have a calendar that we plan out, and when it's the right time, we boom. The social media will be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, and so on and so forth. Uniform across all the social media. So be it that you wake up in the morning and you check for looking at YouTube shop, you see Ashbury Cocoa, or you're in the bathroom, right? This TikTok Ashbury Cocoa. So you have to be in all the social media, and your communication style, your videos, your vibes has to be uniform across all the. And what we find out is that buying on social media, it's more for fast fashion and items which is more impulsive.
Have people who are smarter and better than you. How important is it? Absolutely essential, because we're in a different age. When was the last time you watched TV and saw an alcohol on TV? Stay thirsty, my friend, or Marlboro cigarettes on a billboard or something like that. It's not like it used to be. I have more access to commercials and advertising on a computer or my cell phone than I do if I was watching TV. So reality is, you want to get that audience. You get all of your exposure through every type of social media. And when my friends and family and just random strangers buy my scotch and they post it and they say, wow, I just had this complete stranger scotch and it's amazing. That means everything, because that's going to hit his friends and his friends' friends and their friends. If you remember from in the 1970s, they told two friends and they told two friends, and so on and so on and so on.
From kickstarting the year with smart outreach to using fresh sales strategies, there are ways to grab and keep customer attention. Annual sales are perfect for boosting revenue, but optimizing your approach can maximize results. So, what are the best marketing tactics for a seasonal sale? We ask the experts.
We found that the more we push a sale, whether it's aside from a holiday sale or a regular sale, it's just the consistency in which you get in front of your customers, because you can have a sale. What is the saying? If a tree falls in a forest and no one is there, or whatever that saying is, it's kind of the same thing. If you don't tell your customers more than once, they're not going to know. They're not going to have any idea your sale isn't going to work. So again, it does go back to planning, but planning in the sense of, okay, I know my sale is this. How many weeks in advance do I need to start telling them about it? There's a fine line, because if you tell them about it, too far in advance, they may wait to make their purchases until then, and you're going to have a dip in revenue. But you need to find what's right for your business, but make sure that they know well enough in advance of that sale for Christmas.
The holiday season in general is really challenging, because you're go as a business owner. You're behind it. You're pushing ads. You're pushing sales, and then it's really hard to see that sharp drop off after the holiday season ends. But it does happen across industries. And one thing that I have seen work is really putting yourself in the shoes of the consumers and just commiserating. Being right there with them. Hey, we get it. January can be really depressing. February can be depressing. Dollars are spent from the holidays. You're coming off of what maybe was just a very stressful season, right? There's a lot of planning and gifting and partying and family obligations and all things that are really wonderful and fun, but also take a lot out of you emotionally, mentally, and physically. So I think just putting yourself right there with them as a brand and saying, hey, we get it. We're in the same boat. Like, we're tired. We're whatever. Like, putting out messaging that just humanizes the brand. And then, maybe running a special alongside that, saying like, listen, we get it. The holidays were rough. Here's this discount, or here's a special we're running, or here's a free gift you could get with this. When people see that a brand is human and they can connect and they feel that pull, that human emotional pull from our brand, it really makes a big difference in being willing to dig into your wallet.
3.
When we are running a sales, it always has a reason. For example, the July 4th, we have a reason to celebrate. So, wow, it's July 4th, and then there will be a sales going on. So it always tie in with a special event during that period of time, be it Labor Day, Memorial Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you name it. Each special day is a chance for us to run a sales. And remember, the sale is for a limited time only. If the sale is stretched out too long, customers do not have the urgency or the memory to go and use this special promotion. So by giving it like a week or at most 2 weeks, you make customer want to purchase and to make use of this good opportunity to get the good items at a good price.
In times of inflation, many business owners must raise prices to manage costs. But this can upset customers if the quality doesn't improve. So, how can you raise prices without losing clients? We ask the experts.
1.
There is a price sensitivity in every market. So one of the things that they want to do is first look at what is this price sensitivity. Most people can raise their prices. Now, if you raise them up to the place where Starbucks is charging $7 for a cup of coffee, there's going to be price resistance and maybe a price revolt. And that's what a lot of people are very afraid of. And it makes total sense. What is the value that we're actually conveying, and what does the market actually value on the value perception of what we're offering? If that value perception is high, then and your price isn't at that place, you can raise your prices and you'll get away with it. But always test that before we actually raise the prices. And if you just want to raise your prices, don't go any more than 1 or 2%, just raise them up and see how the price sensitivity comes for that. So it's like, you got to find that sweet spot. That takes testing, but it's all about value perception.
2.
So it's really just looking back on what other businesses that have succeeded over time have done. Yes, we are going to have to raise prices across all sorts of industries. We're not going to see that level out anytime soon, I don't think. And as we see prices inflate, companies can do their part by really playing into what we know consumers are looking for and what consumers need. Where can we have bundle deals? Where can we run specials around holidays? Now, there are certainly times, seasonal, yearly, where we don't want to run as many specials, but sometimes we can increase an average order value and still give a consumer a good deal. Some of that is really psychological, right? We're not losing money as a business if we're saying you get a deal if you buy 3 or 4, because we're still selling more than we would if we were selling 1 unit of whatever it is, the company is doing. So playing into some of that psychology, but also giving consumers what they're looking for. We don't have to play hardball all the time. I think we can all kind of coexist in this landscape.
3. First thing you've got to do, you should know your costs, right? Your costs are going up, but if you think they're not, they already did, and this and that. So you can't be caught a year from now. Your cost went up 25%, so now you're going to charge a client 50%. My point is, and I tell our franchisees this, the cost cartridge roller for an HP product or for a Canon product, they've gone up 25, 30% in the last 2 years. You can't just suddenly wake up and do it. You have to be tracking the pricing. I'd rather tell Anna monthly that this is where we are, and we're still trying to bring our price down, but this is where we are, so it's 1%, 2%, 3%, instead of, I gotta raise your price 50% because I can't service you any longer. People today are used to inflation. They're used to going to the grocery store now and paying $200 for $100 worth of food. It's sadly that we've gotten used to it already. I'm a product of the 70s and 80s when inflation was really inflation, and it stayed, and it was very, very late 70s and so on. We've had inflation. We had a lot of it in 21, 22, and it eased up a bit now. But you should be on your cost at all times and your prices to your clients at all times. But if you're gonna have to raise your prices, it's probably the best time you've had or will have is right now, but it should have been done 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Full. It's interesting because cost of living has gone up. And I know at Trepwise, we just gave a cost of living adjustment across the board because of the inflationary pressures. Does that impact our pricing? Well, it does impact because our expenses went up. So with expenses going up and insurance has gone up and property, business insurance are all going up. So how do you factor that into your business model? And can you raise prices? The answer is yes, you can. As long as you're being competitive in the market. I often say pricing is set by the market. So the market will bear what it can bear. And I think that it's not unique that professional service organizations, law firms, accounting firms, consulting firms probably have pressure for the price going up because these expenses are eating into the margin. Organizations are going to choose whether they can afford having an outside professional services firm help them. And sometimes strategic planning and consulting are viewed as luxury items. I wouldn't view it that way because I think every organization needs to have a robust plan, but how much they can afford to pay for that plan, I think to your point, that's a question. As long as you can demonstrate your value though, as long as your value proposition is really, really clear, then if prices go up by 10%, that's not earth shattering and you still get a really good quality product. I cringe when you go to the gas station or you go to the grocery store and you realize, or you go out for dinner and just the bills are just a little bit higher, right? So that often enters in people's mindsets. So the person who's at work looking at pricing from vendors is the same person who's going to the store and seeing the price of eggs skyrocket. So it's all around. It's all around them. I think that enters people's mindsets as well.
5. I understand the difficulties of getting a foot into the market. You have to get customer to come in to buy your products. When it is so competitive, anyone can get a very reasonably cheap items in Amazon and now with Temu. So to get a customer to come in first, when we first launched, it was at a very good price, very reasonable price. And then when the customers start to grow and learn about the reputation, oh wow, the suit has a velvet inner and the lining is so soft, they started to spread the words around and referral and reviews. We have like 2,800 reviews and all majority of them are 5-star review. And from there, we start to increase the price little bit by a little bit. And to explain why we need to do so, we also have a website. Let customer understand what is our productions, how do we source for the fabric, what is our belief that we have to be environmental friendly, and then we also look into lasting fashion but not fast fashion, and also how we can help through our packaging, how we run the business. We are very pro-environment. Like for example, our mailing service, we partner with senders and they will plant a tree on behalf of us when we reach a certain amount. So in the sense, customer, they do their parts and we also contribute back. So all these extra beneficial things make customer realize that, hey, I'm not just paying for a product, I'm paying for a whole experience of helping the environment, having lasting fashion, looking good and feeling good. So all these additional feelings, emotions, benefits add up to justifying that paying more is actually better. So that is how we increase the price.
The Best of Business Show is brought to you by the Basa Awards. The Basa Awards exist to recognize, reward, and promote exceptional small businesses. We run 4 award programs: Best of America, Best of Australia, Best of Canada, Best of UK. Remember, it's strictly for small businesses only. Nominate your business today.